Hello, hello. Welcome back to another installment of Aligned to the Truth Tuesdays. My name is Danielle Gray. I am a mindset and manifestation coach, universal law mentor, excuse me, transformational teacher, and spiritual mentor, here to elevate you to your highest and best so that you can manifest a life that you love. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate your time. If you are catching the replay, I would appreciate a hashtag replay. If you're watching on YouTube, I do record these videos live inside my free Facebook group, Money, Mindset, and Manifestation. If you are not in the group, I invite you to come and join me and be part of these live recordings. But if you're watching the replay on YouTube, I would love to hear your thoughts below in the comments, or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And if you have any ideas or recommendations for a future topic you'd love to hear me discuss, I would love to welcome that as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in and being a listener. And again, if you have any questions or any feedback or any comments or any breakthroughs you have as a result of this episode, I would love your feedback. Please feel free to send me a message on Facebook, or you can send me an email, hello@daniellegraycoaching.com. Thank you so much again for being here, you guys. Today we're talking all about paradigms. This was a question I was actually asked during a live maybe a week or two ago, and I didn't want to dive into it then. I thought it warranted its own episode. So here we are talking about paradigms. So what are paradigms? Can we change them? How do we change them? What are we talking about here? So when I talk about a paradigm, I'm talking literally about what you believe to be true. Okay, so your current paradigm involves what you're currently experiencing. Okay, your paradigm is your belief systems, your subconscious blueprint. And what I mean by that is, if you haven't been following me for any amount of time, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. So a subconscious blueprint is something that's created when we're little. Okay, from the ages of 0 to 7, our subconscious mind is like a sponge. Okay, it's operating consistently in theta state, and anything that is absorbed during theta state goes directly into the subconscious mind. Okay, so basically from 0 to 7, we're walking around like giant information sponges, and everything that's happening is not being judged or labeled as good or bad, negative or positive. It's just all soaked into the subconscious mind, and we draw on that subconscious mind, that this is our blueprint, our programming, subconscious programming. We draw on this programming later in life. Okay, so what we experience as a child, we essentially turn into a pattern, and we relive it over and over and over again until we come to the awakening realization that we are living in a pattern, and we actually have the opportunity to change these patterns. Okay, so your paradigm is, like I say, essentially a combination of your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs and subconscious blueprint programming being reflected back to you in your reality. Okay, so whatever you're experiencing right now is your paradigm. Okay, that's your set of systems, or your set of beliefs, and your subconscious blueprint has created your paradigm right now. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Can you change a paradigm? Like I kind of alluded to this already, but yes, obviously we can change our paradigm, because once you realize that you are reliving this subconscious pattern that probably doesn't serve you, right? Because if it did serve you, you'd have no reason to be questioning it, right? But because our parents and their parents and their parents, like, this goes way further back than just, mom and dad or your primary caregivers, right? They were only doing as good of a job as they could with what they had at the time, right? If you're seeing this video either now live or in the future at some point, years down the road, it doesn't matter. When you see this is a message for you that you are ready to evaluate your current paradigm and change it to something that's more empowering. Okay, this is essentially a wake-up call that there is at least something in your life right now that is not going the way that you would ideally like it to go, and that is only because it's part of your current paradigm. But like I say, you get to choose what your paradigm looks like. So after you have picked out and evaluated and objectively looked at all the things in your life that do and don't serve you, you have a picture of what your paradigm currently is. So now going forward, what can we do with this information? Well, you can evaluate all the things going on And the things that do serve you, you can empower, right? You can create mantras and affirmations around those things. And really, when we're talking about affirmations and mantras, and I can go into this in depth another time, but I just want you to know that affirmations and mantras, the purpose of them is to instill repetitive thoughts in our head, because a belief, which is what our paradigm is created from, right? A belief is only a belief because it's stemmed from a thought that we've thought over and over and over again until it's solidified into a belief. So that means that you can turn anything into a belief. And up until this point, we have been unconsciously turning all kinds of things into a belief. Like money is hard to come by, red cards get more speeding tickets. Relationships are difficult. Like whatever it is that you believe to be true is creating your current paradigm, right? So the affirmations and the mantras really just help more your ego and your conscious mind, right? Repeat the same empowering thoughts over and over and over again until they become a belief instead, right? You're literally reprogramming your mind when you're doing this. We have something called neural pathways in our brain that every time we identify with a belief or we repeat a belief or a thought, we are strengthening those neural pathways, right? But what we want to do is we want to weaken the neural pathways we've been carrying up until this point that don't empower us. And we want to create new neural pathways that do empower us, right? So that's where the affirmations and the mantras come in, repeating thoughts and empowering beliefs that we want to solidify as truth. And the more time you spend saying and repeating these mantras and thinking them and really spending time focusing on them and feeling into them, the stronger they become, the more solidified as a belief they become. And then neural pathways are created and strengthened, right? Whereas anytime you don't give any attention or focus to a previous neural pathway, it slowly dies, right? You've probably heard the phrase, use it or lose it, right? Well, neural pathways are the same. If you're not using them, they get diminished and diminished and diminished until they're gone. If you've seen Inside Out, the Disney movie Inside Out, you have an idea of what I'm talking about. There's this idea that everybody has these 5, emotions living in your head, and these 5 emotions are in charge of the memory system in your mind. Okay. And there's a scene where 2 of the emotions get out of headquarters and they're running through what is long-term memory. Okay. And it depicted as shelves and shelves and shelves of these orbs that each host a memory in them. Okay. And some of the memories are glowing and bright, and those are, what do they call them? Core memories. In this movie, they call them core memories. And then the ones that are just glowing with a certain color, the color relates to the emotions that are in that memory. But if the memories are glowing with a color, if these orbs are glowing with a color, those are memories that are still worth having and remembering. And then there are some orbs that end up getting grayed out, go black and white, they go very dull. Those are memories that are being forgotten, right? So in my example here, the gray orbs are visual proof of the neural pathways to those memories being diminished, right? One of the things that they decide to forget and suck up into the, vortex of wherever these memories go is what was it? Piano music. And then these 2 little, I don't know what they are in this movie, are deciding, okay, yeah, you know what, let's keep chopsticks and keep, whatever else the song is, and then forget the rest. And they erase all the names. And there's another part where they keep like 2 or 3 presidents' names, and then they erase the rest of the presidents, right? Because if you're not focusing on those, the names of the presidents, you will eventually forget them, right? That's what I mean about use it or lose it. If you're not focusing on the thing and strengthening the neural pathway, it diminishes. It needs to have focus to be strong and to grow. So affirmations and mantras allow us to focus on what we're trying to strengthen, right? The neural pathways we're trying to create and strengthen, because wherever your focus is, wherever your energy is what is going to expand, right? This is true scientifically, this is true energetically, and it's obviously true for manifestation, right? So to create a new paradigm, after you've identified what does and doesn't serve you, you want to, forget, release the things that don't serve you, and decide what your new paradigm looks like. So for example, a lot of entrepreneurs go into business for themselves thinking that they are going to have this, beautiful, successful life. And then it turns out that their current belief system does not support them going off into the world and being self-employed, right? Most of us are raised to be employees, including anybody who's been to the traditional school system. Is, it's not said this way anywhere, but it's my thorough belief that the school system was created to pump out employees, right? So if we've been living, 13 years in school plus the, 4 or 5 years that leads up to that, and then you go to college, all of those years you've been believing one paradigm, that you work for somebody else, that, you have to trade time for money, that, you're only ever going to make so much money because that's how it is. That's the paradigm that you are subscribed to right now, is that employees, they earn vacation time and they get these benefits, and we're talked into all the benefits of working for somebody else, right? So when you go into work for yourself, when you become an entrepreneur, those paradigms are conflicting, right? Because to be self-employed, you need to have a belief that you are capable of working for yourself and by yourself, that you're capable of completing work that you don't have to answer to anybody for, right? That's a huge wake-up call, is to decide you want to complete something and then you don't have a boss or a supervisor or whatever checking up on you all the time to make sure you're progressing properly on this project. It's all up to you. So you can see how the paradigms don't necessarily line up. So you need to identify all of the beliefs that are keeping you in this, employee paradigm, and shifting what doesn't serve you to the entrepreneurship paradigm so that you can be successful on your own, right? And of course, there's a lot of limiting beliefs that come with that as well. And again, those are all neural pathways we need to be identifying, right? So one of the best ways to identify what your paradigm, one of the best ways to create this new paradigm is to identify what it is you want to be true for yourself, right? A lot of us, like I was saying, we go into entrepreneurship thinking success is going to look one way. And then it turns out we actually have this conflicting paradigm going on, and we've got all these limiting beliefs that are keeping us stuck. And then what I see ends up happening is we fear our own success because we don't know what it looks like to be successful as an entrepreneur. And a lot of the time, unfortunately, a lot of the people modeling out in the world of, business coaches and other online entrepreneurs that are, that we're seeing, unfortunately, paint this picture of perfectionism, right? And they make it look so effortless. And they say, well, I've only worked 5 hours this week. It's like, well, okay, yeah, but you're not mentioning the 6 people you have working for you and, all the other things going in. Like, there's not enough transparency in the entrepreneurship field for us to feel confident in our ability to succeed. So then we get scared because we think, oh my God, if I want to be successful, I'm going to go from having nothing to having this huge business that I can't handle. I don't know how to coach people. I don't know how to, or not coach, but lead people. I don't know how to have employees. I don't know how to run a business. I don't have systems. I don't know how to put a funnel together. I don't even know how to use Zoom. Some people, I don't even know how to do all these things. Like, how do I run ads? What am I going to, we get all bogged down by our own thinking, our own old neural pathways that are still strong because we have not done the work around that. And we get freaked out and we end up self-sabotaging, right? We end up hitting our upper limit behaviors of self-sabotage, of some of us get sick, some of us pick fights, some of us, put other priorities ahead of our business. We get busy. We are deflecting our energy somewhere else because we're afraid of our own success. But the whole time, we're not considering that we get to decide what that success paradigm looks like. You get to decide what your life looks like, right? So a paradigm ultimately is nothing more than a set of beliefs that you want to be true for you in your life, right? You get to decide what the paradigm looks like. So if you want to be successful and you realize that you're fearing your own success, then decide what it looks like. A lot of the time, whether we're manifesting things or we are, we're manifesting things and we're afraid of what it actually looks like subconsciously, right? This is all happening under the surface. We can all look cool as a cucumber on the surface. This is all happening underneath. And most of the time, when they say that entrepreneurship is not a sustainable business and self-employment fails and those are the people that are not doing the work, right? You have to do the energetic work too. Otherwise, you're walking around totally unconscious of all of these limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck, when it would just take you to really tune in and go, okay, yeah, I feel this way. That's weird. Where did that belief come from? And how can I change it? right? But we get to decide how that looks. You get to decide. So get clear on what it looks like, right? Take some time and sit down, whether you're new to entrepreneurship or you've been doing it a long time, whether you're where you want to be or not. Sit down, take some time and decide going forward, what do I want my paradigm to be? Do I want success to come easily to me? Or do I want success to be a struggle? You know, you've probably heard me say before when I was growing up, okay, let me backpedal. I'm through and through a Leo, like my sun, moon, everything, zodiac, I'm a Leo, like 100%. So I stereotypically, right? It's very true. I like sparkly things. I like expensive things. I like luxury things, right? And I've always been that way. I've always been, and my mom used to joke with me, I would go into a store, look around at all the things, or I'd be on a website, I'm looking around at all the things. When I finally click on something or flip over a tag to see how much it is, sure enough, it's like the most expensive thing in the store, right? I have expensive taste, I guess. That's what it is. I've always been drawn to nice, expensive things. So obviously, I've always been in the mindset that I wanted to have a high paying job. Like I wanted to make a lot of money, right? Now, I've always been somebody who, up until 5 years ago, always been somebody who thought I was going to be an employee. I was not interested in self-employment. I was not open to it. I did not see myself as an entrepreneur. I didn't like none of that. When I went to college, I was in a marketing program. And in the first year, everybody from all the different specializations of marketing was together. And then in our second year, we got split into our specializations. I went to tourism, there was communications, there was something else, and real estate and entrepreneurship. And I had friends going into entrepreneurship, and I said, like, why in the hell would you want to go into entrepreneurship? Like, it's so much easier to work for somebody else. You can pack up your desk at the end of the day and go home, blah, blah, blah. Paradigm, right? Belief system. But anyway, one of the conflicting beliefs I had growing up was that to make a lot of money, it requires a lot of working hours and time away from your family. Okay. My parents worked in insurance. They had a lot of friends who were lawyers. So we went over to different lawyers' houses for dinners and stuff and family, whatever things, when my sister and I were invited as well. And they, of course, have big, beautiful houses. Most of them had pools. Some of them had beautiful views. They had just all the things, right? But they all, because they were lawyers, right? And lawyers typically, stereotypically, lawyers work, yes, they make huge money, but they also work many, many hours a week. They work long into the evening. They've got cases they need to finish. They need, they got deadlines, they've got whatever. So they're working a lot, right? So they don't see their family as much. So then I created this system in my head, like, okay, well, what do I want to earn all this money for? If to do that, it means I can't enjoy it and spend time with my family. So I was literally saying to people, no, I don't want to make a whole ton of money, because that means I won't see my family. This is a belief that I had. That was a paradigm that I had created for myself, right? That I can't now. So my belief system is, if I want to make a lot of money, it's going to require me to sacrifice spending time with my family. So that's not an empowering belief, right? But I get to choose now what I want my success to look like. But you have to first identify the things that are keeping you stuck. Now, some coaches will say that you don't have to identify your limiting beliefs to put a more empowering one in place. And while that may be true sometimes, I believe that full, deep, meaningful, lasting inner work requires you to first find out what is keeping you stuck. Where did that come from? Disprove it, because the second that you question a belief, right? And remember I said a minute ago, all beliefs are just thoughts you've thought over and over and over and over and over again until they become a belief. And then now we just believe it for face value, right? And again, when we're little, 0 to 7, we're absorbing all this information from our parents and from the people around us, our caregivers or whatever. And we're not judging it as right or wrong. We are absorbing it as, this is how life works, right? This is how life works. So whatever your experience was from 0 to 7, that is what your subconscious mind believes to be the way life works. And that's why we continue to relive the patterns over and over and over again, because your subconscious is literally regurgitating to you the paradigm that you've created, what you believe to be true, right? But the beautiful thing about it is, as soon as and why I think you really need to do the inner work and start identifying what's holding you back and not just try to put in all these empowering things, is you want to identify what's conflicting, right? If you've got a new belief that money is easy to earn, and you've got a conflicting belief that's, 25 years old or whatever, that money is hard to earn and it takes a lot of time and money or it takes a lot of time away from your family and, time out of your sanity. Well, obviously the old belief is going to override the new belief because it's stronger. The neural pathway is way thicker, right? Especially if you've been like me saying for years and years and years and years and years to people, I don't want to make a lot of money because I want to spend time with my family, right? That's not helpful. So first, you want to identify the beliefs. And the minute you identify the belief and realize, wait a minute, is that actually true? It's not even about judging the belief. It's just about questioning, is this actually true? The second you start to question a belief, it's no longer a belief, right? Things you believe to be true, you're not going to question, right? But things you just think or an idea that you're given, you're going to question it because it's not a belief. So the second you start to question the belief, it loses steam. So now you've downgraded the belief to just a thought to ponder, basically, right? And the more you do it and the more you disprove it to be true, and you go, well, no, yeah, okay, that was true in this instance or whatever, but it's not true overall. Or yes, okay, in that moment as a 4-year-old, I can see how I interpreted it that way, but that's not actually what happened, right? As we get older, especially with money things, I think, and relationship things, and just really limiting belief things in general, I find it as I get older and older and do more of this work myself and read more books and take more courses and learn from new coaches and things like that, it's easier and easier for me to look back on past limiting beliefs and past paradigms and go, okay, well, obviously I can see how my little tiny kid brain processed that, but what was really happening was XYZ, right? Like there was other things going on. There was other struggles happening. There was whatever, right? Like it's easier for you to pick apart the things that at the time made you feel one way. And now when you question it, you go, okay, well, no. Now as an adult, as a mom myself, I can see that this was actually where that was coming from. Right. And again, it loses steam. The neural pathway is weakened. And not only is it weakened, but now you've got more energetic space because you've cleared something out. You've got more energetic space to hold a belief and a paradigm that is more powerful and more empowering. Right. So Jamie asked a good question here. What if you cannot isolate where or when a limiting belief came from? It doesn't really matter if you can't identify where it came from, as long as you identify that it is a limiting belief and that you can disprove it. The only real extra benefit to identifying where the limiting belief came from or where it started is that I find it's a little bit easier to break it down and disprove it because, like I just said, you can in the moment go, okay, well, yeah, this limiting belief stems from this interaction with my mom. And at the time I can see how I got there, but obviously now that I'm a mom too, I can see where that came from. And now that I've had my own experiences with money and parenthood and all the things, I can see that was just circumstance in that moment. And it's not, an overlying truth about money or about whatever's going on. Right. So you don't need to actually, I wouldn't waste a ton of time trying to get really clear on isolating the limiting belief. It's more about just figuring out that it is a limit. Like when you are having a discussion with somebody or when you're telling a story about something, pay attention to the way you tell the story, right? Because the way you tell the story will bring a lot of clarity to the things that are keeping you stuck based on what you believe and perceive to be true, right? That's one of the most powerful things anybody can do is start to become aware of the things that they're thinking and the words that they're saying and the way that they describe something, right? Ultimately, when you tell a story, are you pitting yourself as the victim unconsciously, or are you triumphant in your stories, right? Think about how you're telling the story. And always, this is a side tangent, but always, always, always remember that your word is your wand. What you say is what you're creating. So what you're focusing on is what you're creating. So if you spend a lot of time telling stories where you end up being the victim of this story, you're going to continue to have experiences where you're the victim of the story. Whereas if you choose to look at the story and go, yeah, okay, this happened, but it was a learning experience. And now I know so much better about XYZ, right? You triumphed. And now you have a belief that I can overcome all things when I take the time to diagnose what's happening, right? But on a side tangent as well, Jamie, about isolating and discovering where the limiting beliefs come from. If you really want to know, set the intention to figure it out. Set the intention, ask the universe to identify where the belief came from. And I have actually a really interesting experience with this. I was working with a coach and I was trying to identify where, I forget the limiting belief. It doesn't really matter. I was trying to identify where the limiting belief came from. And in the session with my coach at the time, I felt that I had identified what it was. But it was funny because she picked up, she's like, no, I still kind of feel like that's probably not actually where that comes from, but it'll be interesting to see if you can dig any deeper and uncover it, like give it some time, ponder it a little bit. And so I kind of set like a half-assed intention to discover where it came from, but I didn't really pursue it that much. And then about, maybe it was like a week or two later, maybe it wasn't that long, I don't know, I forget now, everything kind of blurs together, but I had a very vivid dream. Or was it just a memory? I forget. But very vividly, I replayed the scenario of where the limiting belief actually came from. And it was, and I forget what the limiting belief was, but I remember it was at my grandma's and I broke my grandma. Okay, let me really quick side tangent backstory. My grandma raised 5 kids on welfare. Her husband was a drunk, useless idiot who eventually took off. I've never met him. Actually, he's passed away now. He died in December, apparently. But sorry, no, not but. So she raised 5 kids on welfare by herself, basically. And that would be very stressful, right? I can imagine that would be very stressful. And so she's very cheap, right? To this day, she's very cheap. And she had this really pretty, porcelain or china or something, very delicate, like pitcher jug thing that she had on display in the living room. And I smashed it to pieces when I was like 3 or 4. I smashed it it fell off the thing and it fell onto the tile hearth, whatever it is in front of the fireplace. And it just smashed. And that moment created this ripple effect, limiting belief in me. Now I forget what it was about. It doesn't matter. But I had this very vivid memory of it happening. And I had no idea that that caused a limiting belief. And I had no idea that it could be shown to me in that way. So like I say, just set a gentle intention to uncover where the limiting belief comes from if you really want to know. And eventually it will be shown to you when you are ready to receive the message. Okay. And I've got someone here. My childhood paradigm wasn't even that empowering. Mine was just that there wasn't enough to do or get any source of nice or valuable things for myself or my family. Yeah. See, I see that limiting belief in my childhood too. My paradigm is just that there was enough money to do the things we needed to do, but there wasn't a lot of extra. Like if I wanted new clothes, for example, we had a clothing budget of like $40 a month or something each, my sister and I. And so I could have new things, but it was only once in a while. And it couldn't be expensive. It was like department store kind of stuff. And we didn't really do the name brand thing. Jamie says, I started recognizing and assigning family generated beliefs to the person they belong to in my life. And then I ask myself, how do I honestly feel about that subject? That helps me detach it from it myself and really identify my own thoughts. That's so perfect. Yeah. If you can identify kind of who planted that there. And again, it's not necessary, but it definitely does help. Like when you can identify where something comes from, it's very empowering to be able to recognize that as that person's belief based on their paradigm and where they came from and their parents and their grandparents and their teachers and all that, and let them have it. And you can create your own paradigm based on what you want to believe. Right? I'm just scrolling through to make sure there's no questions. Somebody says, I said that when I was promoted and I was told, treat people how you want to be treated. And I'm a phone call away for anything else you need. Life changer. See, like you need to be in a paradigm where you are supported, right? You need to be in a paradigm where you're supported. You need to create a paradigm where you're supported, whether that's an employee, in a relationship, in your business, in whatever, right? Create the paradigm that suits you. So like I say, first identify what doesn't serve you and what's not going to help you move forward. And then decide, what would I rather believe? And I've said this about 1,000 times, but one of the fastest ways to identify what your paradigm currently is for you to look around at your current reality. Like I said, you've heard me say this a bunch of times. Look around at your current reality and ask the universe to give you some guidance. What must I believe to be true? What must my paradigm be for my reality to look the way that it does right now? Okay. And again, this is non-judgmental. This is like just objectively observing. We're just trying to see what's going on, right? Ultimately, this is a topic for another day, but ultimately, we are all just awareness. So our job is to be aware of the feelings, the thoughts, the beliefs that we have, and to choose something more empowering if needed in any given moment, right? And just on that topic of awareness, we just finished a 7-part group discussion inside Alignment U, where we talked about the book, The Greatest Secret, and it went off on tangents and into depths I could never have imagined it would go. It was more powerful than I imagined. It's probably one of the best trainings I've ever done, to be honest with you. Me and another friend of mine, she's also a healer inside Alignment U. She comes in and does, she's a Reiki healer and she does soul retrieval and whatnot. She and I had very dynamic conversations for 7 days in a row. That it was epic. Like I said, we went to depths you have never experienced before. I highly recommend, I'm going to package up the replays and make them available for purchase because it was so powerful, so good. The world needs to hear the words that we spoke in these trainings. Okay. So I am going to package up the replays. If you have not read the book, The Greatest Secret, I highly recommend you get the book and then get the replays and read. We did it in 2-chapter chunks. So the first video is like intro, chapter 1 and 2, and then the next video is 3 and 4, and then 4, so on and so forth. And then there's a recap at the end. And even if you have read the book, I still recommend that you get the replays and you watch and take part in this training because it, like I say, goes to amazing places I never thought a discussion about a book would go. And so I will make it available to everybody. When I'm done packaging it up, I will let you guys know. If you know for sure that you want to get in on this, send me a direct message and let me know that you'd like a link to the purchase page, because I'm telling you, this essentially, it's going to be a book companion course, will change your life. It was incredible. All the ladies who participated will say that it was mind-blowing, phenomenal, amazing. I can't say enough about it. It was crazy. And while the cool thing about it is, while we're having the discussions in the videos, we're having real-time epiphanies, real-time breakthroughs. And then between calls, we had breakthroughs. Like just in the week that we were discussing the book, I had 3 or 4 breakthroughs, and then it continued after. And I've in the last 2 weeks, I've probably had half a dozen to maybe, I don't even know, so many epiphanies, so many breakthroughs, so many up levels. Like it has been absolutely crazy. So I highly recommend that everybody take part in this book discussion replay package thing. Okay. Anyway, but the essence of the book is that we are awareness. We are awareness, and our job is to be aware of what's coming up, not to judge it, not to change it, not to resist it, but just to let it be and observe and then choose better. Right? Because we are creating our new you are creating your paradigm in every second. Everything that you're focusing on is helping you create this new paradigm you're creating. So if you know that, you need to make sure that you're focusing on things that empower you and that elevate your vision for your paradigm. So first you need to decide, what does your paradigm look like? What do you want it to look like? What does success mean to you? What does love look like for you? What does money look like for you? What's your relationship with your finances? What's your paradigm around money? Right? What's your paradigm around your relationship? What's your paradigm around your marriage? What's your paradigm around home ownership? What's your paradigm around being a wife, a daughter, a sister, a mother, whatever? What is your paradigm around being a dog owner, right? Or being a pet owner, or being a cat owner? What is your paradigm around studying? What is your paradigm around up-leveling yourself and self-development? What's your paradigm around inner work, right? A lot of us have this paradigm of inner work that it's difficult and painful and long and grueling and all this stuff. And we've got so many things going on. We don't want to stop and slow down to do the inner work. We want to just do. Trust me, I was there. For way too long, I was one of those people. I was stuck in the masculine, wounded masculine even energy of what else can I do? What more can I do? What other things can I do to make this dream that I'm trying to create come true? When all that I had to do, and this is what we do in Alignment U, all I had to do was turn inward instead, right? And discover what's limiting me, what's creating the reality the way that it is, identify what's limiting me, identify the glass ceilings, right? Identify the self-sabotaging behavior, identify the upper limit behaviors, identify the things that need to be improved, identify the disempowering beliefs, identify the paradigms, right? You have to identify what's holding you back so that you can dissolve it and get rid of it, because we only have so much space, right? And in every situation that we come up against, we are being invited to expand. But if you resist what's going on, if you push away what's trying to come through, then you are perpetuating your current paradigm, right? But if you allow those things that come up to be learning experiences, to be expansive experiences, then not only can you dissolve the shit that doesn't serve you anymore, but you also expand in your ability and capacity to hold on to and to nurture and to love, right? So now you've removed some stuff that's not empowering. You've expanded. So now you've got the void that you can fill. Law of vacuum states that you have to fill up the void with something. Like the void must be filled. Your space must be filled. But you get to decide what that space is filled with, right? So that's why it's important to identify what needs to go and what you would like to replace it with, right? What your new paradigm looks like. So now if you, like I say, if you have some experience come to you and you are aware of what's going on, you can tune in and go, okay, this is my previous paradigm. This is the limiting belief that's creating this. This is the energy that I've been giving off that's drawn in this experience. This all is an invitation to expand. So in that expansion, in that awareness, in that dissolving, in that expansion, you now, like I say, can replace the void of the thing that you've dissolved and released. And because you've expanded, you've got even more space to hold more good things, right? So it's very important that you know what you want to put in that void ahead of time, right? The mantras, the affirmations, the beliefs. What do you want to put in there? And you can start doing that like after this call. Identify where you are, identify where you want to go. I would encourage you to create some mantras or affirmations or something that empower where you're going and start repeating these, okay? Especially when you say them out loud. Because when you speak out loud, your throat chakra, right, is connecting your head to your heart. It's speaking your desires into being. So you can use your voice power to your manifesting benefit by repeating the things that you want to believe to be true. Plus, something I forget the actual like science behind it, but your subconscious mind accepts your own voice better than anything else. And even greater than that, your subconscious mind does not know the difference between something that you've made up or that you are actually experiencing. So that's why another reason why affirmations and mantras work, because we're tricking our subconscious mind into believing that these things are already happening. Well, that's why you want to say, I am, I have, I did, right? Like not I will, not I might, not it would be nice to. Like, no, I am, I have, I did, right? Present tense, past tense even. And then you want to solidify that. So you're strengthening the neural pathways and you are reaffirming to your mind what's going on. You are speaking your life into existence and you're creating your new paradigm, Okay. It's very important that you are only ever focusing on where you're going and not what's previously been. And I know I did just say, identify where you come from, but with the intention of objectively looking at it and dissolving it and releasing it, not for the purpose of dwelling on it and feeling shitty about it and focusing on all the negative. Literally, we're only going there, like I said, with the intention to identify and dissolve so we can replace with empowerment. That's the only reason we're going there. Okay. So I know some people believe, and I used to believe too, that if we give any light to the things that aren't working, we're going to create more of that. Not when you're using intentions and deliberate, deliberate journaling and deliberate inspection, right? It's just to identify what currently is so that you can decide what you would prefer, right? You need to break down what's keeping you stuck. You need to break down, what must I currently believe to be true about life and about money, about love, about whatever, for my reality to look the way it does? Is that actually true though? No. Okay, what would I rather believe? And then start affirming that. Someone says, I literally just let go of a job that didn't sit right for me, then got in my head about it, and then your lives pop up. I love it. Yeah, you know what? That's, if the job doesn't serve you, you did the right thing and got out of there, and you are supported, and you will find either another job that does support you, or you will be struck with some kind of genius idea to go off on your own, or maybe both. Okay. Trust the timing. Everything is always working out for you. Always, 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 always. Okay. That wraps up what I wanted to share with you. So I'm going to open the floor for questions quickly here. If anybody has anything, go ahead and type it in the comments there. Unfortunately, I can't see the names, but anyway. StreamYard is weird. It wants you to grant access, but then sometimes it doesn't let you. I don't know. And thank you again, everybody, for being here live. I so appreciate your time. Anybody watching the replay, I appreciate your time too. And whatever time you come across this video is perfect time for you. We are introduced to the information when we're ready to receive it. That's how it works. You're always supported. You will always be guided. That's why it's important that we always listen to our intuition and we follow the nudges that we're given. Someone says, I can't see the link for StreamYard link this time. Oh, that's weird. I added it. Anyway, I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Yeah, Joy, I can see your name. So bizarre. And then while we're at it, I'm just going to remind everybody here live and on the replays and on YouTube and on the podcast and everything that I do send out daily affirmations, which I always encourage you to repeat out loud and in the mirror for even bonus points. If you say it into your own eyes, it's even more powerful, but repeating them in your head is still better than not doing them at all. So I send out daily affirmations via text, along with other manifesting tips and tricks, reminders of when I'm going live, letting you know when there's new YouTube videos available and when new podcasts and all the things. So you're staying up to date. If you would like to get in on that, text Facebook to 310-388-9974. That will add you automatically to my phone and it will get you on the mailing list for all of the goodness. Okay. Let me just turn this back off. I got some more comments. Jamie says, looking into your own eyes in the mirror while speaking out loud is helpful. Choose better to do better. Yeah. You know what? This is the thing, me included, spend so much time thinking, well, if I could be doing this, like, why am I going to sit down to journal when I could be doing X, Y, Z? Why am I going to sit down to look at my limiting beliefs when I've got all these dishes to do? Why, how can I do all of these things when I've got a business to build? Right. But like me, if you're thinking that, you're looking at it from the wrong perspective and you're missing the point, right? Every second you spend intentionally bettering yourself is a second invested in yourself, right? There's a woman that I follow named Melanie Ann Layer, and she has this motto: for me, for you, for us. Okay. If it's good for me, it's good for you, it's good for us as a collective, right? So I started thinking about that in terms of how I'm looking at my day. She also decided to look at it in terms of, is it good for me now and good for me later? And I've been using this since I heard her say it. I've been using it in my own life. And I think, if it's good for me now, good for me, and it's good for me later, for you, right? You later, me later is you. then it's good for us, both of us, right? So is it good for me now and good for me later? So like last night, I was so tired. I actually, I actually drank way too much on Sunday night. It was my son's, we threw him a, going into kindergarten luau, which we've decided we're going to make an annual thing. And I drank way too much. I don't usually drink. And I was drinking too much and I ended up getting sick. And then I was hungover. Yeah, I did not feel good yesterday at all. And I put my son to bed and I was having a shower and I got this idea to do, it was a new moon yesterday, right? And I got this idea to do this whole like elaborate new moon ritual. And then I thought, no, I'm tired, right? And I thought, no, doing a new moon ritual like this, the magic of the new moon, if you're going to manifest it all, you might as well utilize the power of the astrology and the moon and all the things, right? So I thought, no, you know what? It's good for me now to do this work. It's definitely good for me later because I'm literally pre-paving the way to my desired reality. So it's good for both me and me now and me in the future. And ultimately what I'm doing for me is good for you guys. It's good for us as a collective, right? Because the more work that I do, the more I can share on these points and the more you can better yourself, right? Through learning through me. So yes, obviously I'm going to do those things, right? So I did. I stayed up until, I think I was up till almost midnight actually. And it ended up being a very intense, like 6.5 page thing that I did, right? Because it is good for me now and good for me later. And I want you guys thinking about that when you're thinking about investing in yourself, whether it's time to set aside to do the things. Like one thing I started doing again, actually, I started getting up super early and spending time on self-development before anybody is awake. Even though my son's about to go to kindergarten and I'll have all day to do it, I just decided that I like doing it better in the morning. So I started getting up at 6 again and I started doing self-development in the morning. Right now I'm doing an Amanda Frances course. It's worth it, right? And think about when you're making physical investments, like money, tangible investments in yourself, whether you're joining a program like Alignment U or, an Amanda Frances course or a Melanie Ann Layer course or whatever, right? Whoever you're signing up with, whatever you're investing in, that's good for you now and it's good for you later, right? You're literally investing in your future self when you make an investment like that. And everybody is worthy of investing in their future self. Everybody. And now, of course, I see this. I was raised with the paradigm that it wasn't worth investing in myself either. No, it's absolutely, you have to invest in yourself. If your self-improvement, if your development, if your growth, if your expansion, if your life is not important enough to you to be investing in it, like what's the point? Nobody else is going to do it for you. Nobody cares more about your dreams and where you're going than you do. Nobody. Not your kids, not your husband, not your parents. Nobody cares as much about it as you do, which means nobody's going to show up for it the same way you do, and nobody is going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself, and you have to know that you are worthy of the transformation that you seek. You are worthy of the transformation that you seek. You are worthy of everything that you want. You are worthy of working with the coach. You are worthy of the up level. You are worthy of the new paradigm. Nobody is any different. We are all the same, you guys, and we all have the same ability to create any paradigm we want. Life gets to look any way that you want. And that's one of the most frustrating things to me is when people play the victim, because no, you're creating that yourself. If you would just change the way that you see what's going on and change the way you're talking about what's going on, it would create a new paradigm for you. But because you are continuously stuck seeing what is, you're spending too much time looking at what's going on instead of looking into the future of what you're creating. And so you perpetuate the whole thing. And it's very frustrating for me. It's very frustrating, because you are literally a victim of your own circumstance. You're doing it to yourself. When you look at what is, you need to see it as a stepping stone to where you're going, not the end of the road. Nothing is ever going to improve. Like I live in the basement suite of my parents-in-law's house right now. And I could either be like, oh, poor me, or I could go, you know what? I'm so blessed to be in such a supportive environment and have another set of adults around to help with our son and keep him entertained and play with them. And how lucky is he to have his grandparents around, and how lucky am I to have another mom around, who my husband is very much like my son. So it's like they're the same person. I can get help. And I very much see where I am right now as a stepping stone to where I'm going. And while I've been in this very supportive environment, I've learned a lot about myself. I've changed many times over, and I'm very excited about the future. So it depends on what how you look at it. Your perspective and your perception of what's going on will deem how things turn out, right? So use your thinking energy for empowerment instead of victimhood. Okay? Now go out and change your paradigm. Identify what your paradigm is, disprove it as truth, because it's not. It's just that those are just a set of beliefs that have created the paradigm you're in right now, and move on to creating the paradigm that you desire. Someone says here, I'm actively reframing my mindset around my life in the non-victim way and getting frustrated with my roommate continuing to self-victimize. That is one thing that I will say gets a little bit frustrating too. And I think that's probably why I just said what frustrates me is people being victim of their own circumstance. Is as you do the work, people who refuse to do the work become more and more infuriating, because it's like you could choose better, but you don't. So you can't do the work for them. You can't make them read any books. You can't make them take any courses. You can't make them implement any things. All you can do is lead by example and know that eventually the good that you're doing for yourself will ripple out, maybe not even to this person, but in general, right? And you know what? Regardless of what anybody else is doing, you deserve to be happy. You deserve your paradigm to look the way that you want it to. And you deserve to live a happy, fulfilling life. And if your roommate isn't ready to get on board, then he or she will ultimately probably dissolve out or join you in creating a new paradigm as well. But all you can do is lead by example and be the positive force that you need to be in this other person's life and in your own life. Do it for yourself first, but the ripple effect is real. I will tell you that. So just keep what you're doing and be a good example. That's all you can do. Okay, that's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much again for being here live or on the replay. I so appreciate your time. Thank you so, so much. The live is staying up. All of the Align to the Truth Tuesday replays in the Facebook group are under guide, I believe it's 3. Otherwise, you can catch it on YouTube or listen to it on the podcast. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here with me. I will see you next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for the next Align to the Truth Tuesday live here in the Facebook group, Money, Mindset, and Manifestation. I love you so much. Have a fantastic day.